Joining me now with reaction, D.L. Hughley, actor, radio host, and author of Black Man, White House, an oral history of the Obama years. D.L., thank you for being here.
Thank you for having me. I didn't know Mark Furman was going to be here.
What did you make of it? Because you were shaking your head.
I think that cops will have a different perspective than us, and I think it was interesting to hear Mark Furman, who was actually got in trouble for perjuring himself, called somebody a liar. It's ridiculous to me.
But what do you make of the fact that she had inconsistencies in her story?
I think the cop had inconsistencies in his too. To me.
So then you let the evidence play out.
Here's my problem. It is my belief that no matter what happens, no matter what we see, the cops are given a presumption of innocence. If that same tape showed a suspect doing something, that would be all the prosecution would need. And they would say the evidence is all right here. But a cop gets a presumption of innocence that is, no matter what they see, we can see somebody getting shot to death. They go, we don't know what happened before, we don't know what happened after. I know this, that in a state, in both these states, a lot of men in Louisiana, 50 or 47% of people carry guns. Men carry guns. So men having guns on them can't be that unusual. Why wasn't the first question, rather than assuming, do you have a permit for that? Those are states that you can carry a gun.
But you're making assumptions because we don't know what happened. What we have right now is her testimonial, which doesn't capture the actual event. Do we know whether she's credible? Do we know whether...
We know this. We know he had a permit to carry a gun.
But that doesn't answer any of the questions.
That absolutely answers the question.
If he pulled the firearm on the officer, if he didn't disclose it, if the officer felt threatened...
Why on earth would you... Here's what we do know. He had a permit to carry a gun. When you get a permit to carry a gun, they tell you exactly how to act when a police officer pulls you over.
That doesn't mean he didn't threaten the officer.
You're willing to give them a presumption of innocence.
I'm not giving them presumption. Well, the law gives them the presumption of innocence.
No, their badge gives them a presumption.
We don't know the facts. I mean, we saw this happen with Michael Brown and Ferguson.
And we still don't know the facts there. We have a police officer's word and a grand jury's word.
No, we have the Department of Justice's word.
The Department of Justice shut down Ferguson. Ferguson had to be shut down because it was so corrupt.
The Department of Justice found that the police there had endemic racism. They found that.
Right.
But they also exonerated Officer Darren Wilson.
That's not a...
And they found hands up, don't shoot was a lie.
Let me ask you something.
And that Michael Brown was the aggressor.
Wow. Here's what I'll say.
Don't wow me.
Don't tell me not to wow you. I can say wow if I want to, and I'll tell you this. I'll tell you this. They found systemic racism, right? So it's unbelievable. They also found systemic racism, and we know that Darren Wilson left the department because it was so racist it had to be disbanded, and he went to Ferguson, another department that is rife with racism.
So that makes him a racist.
Absolutely. You know what? I have no problem.
Michael Brown grabbed that officer's gun and tried to shoot him in his patrol car.
That is. No one has proven that.
That's what Eric Holder's DOJ concluded.
And Eric Holder's DOJ concluded that department was so rife with
That's a dodge.
Corruption.
I already conceded that, DL. We're talking about Michael Brown and the lie of hands up, don't shoot.
I don't dodge at all. I'm here in Fox News.
Then let's stay on it. Then let's stay on Michael Brown.
We're talking about
We're talking about
I'm not talking. No, woman. I'm not trying to get out of bounds.
You don't dodge. Then let's stay in bounds.
We were talking about the young man that just got murdered in Minnesota.
And the rush to judgment and the assumption you know something when you don't actually know it.
First off, what I'll tell you is this. It is not uncommon for you all to see one thing. The only place racism doesn't exist is Fox News and the police department. That's the only place. That's absolutely true.
That's insulting. You just insulted millions of people watching this channel.
And you know what? I'm insulted by the things I hear on this network, so we're even. I could care less about insulting people that insult me on a daily basis.
You're making a point that is, before the insults, the point you were started to make is true, and we can talk about that whites perceive the situation when it comes to these races.
I think a lot of people on this network have never seen a black man anything deserved.
Could you hold the insults for a second so we can have a productive conversation? You were going to make the points that whites see certain incidents differently than blacks do, and we saw that in the O.J. Simpson case when the verdict came down. I'll give you that. Most reasonable people will give you that. But you know what shuts down all reasonable dialogue is throwing out the term racism before it's been proven.
You know what's, first off, I'll say this. I believe that there is a benefit of the doubt given to police officers that's not given to anybody else. And maybe, obviously they do a tough job. You can't. In 2006, the FBI came out with a report that said that police departments were rife with white supremacists. Said it, not me. So why wouldn't I believe if I know that? I don't know a black man that hasn't had a run-in with a police officer, from the highest to the lowest.
So you've been backed up on that by many people.
My perception of this is based on the experience I've had, just like yours are. So I am not willing to give them a benefit of the doubt. I have seen a lot of things. I lived in the city that Mark Furman policed that also had to be taken over by the federal government.
It's very dangerous when you get to the point where you paint with an entire group with the same brush based on the bad actions of a few.
That is amazing to hear on this network. That really is. That really is amazing to hear on this network. The only place racism.
Thanks for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Take care. Also tonight, new details on a blockbuster New York Post report alleging that some FBI agents think Attorney General Loretta Lynch and Bill Clinton reached a secret deal. Governor Mike Huckabee is next on that. Plus, reports that the agents on this case had to sign special secrecy documents. Also, almost a dozen new polls out today point to one thing. The presidential race is tightening up. We're going to take a look at the possible game changer just ahead.